Okay, everybody, excuse me. So we're going to make a little reference page, just with a few random articles that I've got open here. So I said that there were two tools that I was giving you that could help you come up with the reference for your reference page. Now there are other tools that'll do these things as well, but the ones that I've given you here I think are really good and reliable. And there's bibme.org and OWL Purdue. So let's start with bibme.org. Now when you arrive at bibme, it's going to look like this. And as you can see, your first choice here is between Check My Paper. That's a pay service, so not really what we're looking for. But what we do want to do is we want to create our references or our citations. So let's click here. Okay, now remember that we are doing APA, and there's a few different citation styles you can choose from. They do largely the same thing. It's like Coke and Pepsi, as I said. Similar, very similar, but slightly different. But the one we use at George Brown. Okay, so let's click APA. Now, the first article, the first source that I have for us to make a reference from is this one right here. And it's called The Rise of the Roommate. It's in The Walrus, which is a Canadian magazine, but it's the online edition of the magazine. The author's name is Kelly Maria Corducci, and it was published November 12th, 2020. So I'm going to copy the URL to make it easy. And now let's go back to bibme.org. So we've got it set to APA, but as I mentioned in the slides, we really have to make sure that we are selecting the right type of source. If it's a book, we go to book. If it's a website, we go to website. In this case, we're looking for a magazine. So we can go to Other, which is right here, and that'll bring up a full list of sources that we can choose from. It's in alphabetical order, so we just have to scroll down a little, and we'll go to Magazine Article. Now, you can see that there's an option for something called Search Magazine Articles, and this would allow you to put the title in, and it searches the article, and then if you find the link, then it can sometimes automatically create it using autofill mode. In general, this actually doesn't tend to work that well the majority of the time. So I'm going to suggest that we just go right here to manual entry mode. And that means we can just put in the relevant information ourselves, and we know that it's been scanned correctly by us. So here it says in print, there's a tab for online and another tab for online database. Now this is the online version of the magazine, so I'm going to go to online. The title was The Rise of the Roommate. The author's name is Kelly Maria. Everything is already in here because I already tried this video once and my computer crashed. Corducci. This was The Rise of the Roommate. Now, the magazine here is called The Walrus. The URL I'm going to paste in right there. And I said it was published November 12th. So select November 2020. Now notice that that says the published date, when it was electronically published. We have to enter another date, which is the day that we access the article. Now in this case, I'm accessing it today. We've got a little button here we can press today. And so now we have all the information filled in. We've specified magazine article published online. We're in the APA style, so we know we're going to format. We go down to create citation. Here we go. Scroll down a little bit, and here we go. We've got our formatted reference right here at the bottom. So we want to put this in. We can hit copy and paste. And for now, I am just going to put this in this little sticky note here. And afterwards, I can put this into a Word document, I hope. Okay, we had a little blip there, but we press onward. So here's the second source that I'm going to put in our reference page. Now, as you guys probably remember from when we talked about assessing sources, evaluating our sources, Wikipedia is generally not a great source for us. It's not always a reliable source. But I'm trying to make a point about citation here, so I'm just going to use this article. Now, Wikipedia is a little bit different, right? We notice that there's no author name, specifically a wiki, so it's a very specific type of citation. So go over here to BibMe, and we want to find the right kind of source. So go to Other, W is going to be all the way at the bottom, and would you look at that? bibme.org does almost everything, but it doesn't have how to do a wiki on here. It doesn't automatically format a wiki reference. So that's why, even though we should use BibMe most of the time because it's quite accurate and it does the work for us, it's not going to work 100% of the time. And that's why I've given you this second source, because it is a little bit more work intensive, but it has everything on there. It has the full APA database. Now for this one, the easiest way to access it is just to Google OWL Purdue. As you can see here, this will be our top hit. We'll go to OWL Purdue. Now, OWL Purdue is a great website. It has information about writing, it has tips on grammar, and it also has the full database of APA citation on here. So it shows us how we can do it. It's a searchable site, so we need to specify. As I said, it's a really big source. It has lots of different types of information on it. So when we search, we want to be very specific. So I'm going to say APA reference, and we want to state the specific type of source that we're referencing. So let's put wiki and see what we find. Okay, first one here, reference list electronic sources. If we look down here in the text excerpt, we can see that wikis are going to be involved. So let's go here. And as we scroll down, we can see that there are examples here of all different kinds of online publications. And each one has a slightly different way to format it. So we need to find wikis. It's alphabetical, so we can go all the way to the bottom. And here we go. Now this is an example. And so of course it's not automatically formatted, but we can use this and follow it and put our information in where we need it. Okay, so we were looking at OWL Purdue, and I found this as the example that they gave us under Wiki. I copied and I pasted it in here into a Word document. And just to make things simpler for my computer, I've copied the relevant information that we need from that wiki. So now we can go ahead and we can put this in. So the first thing that they've got here is the title, just the title of the article. And because it's a very simple entry, title is just the name of the town that it's talking about. Now they had ND, no date in their example, but we do have the date, and so we're going to put this in first. January 6, 2020. Now it has retrieved, and in this case, I've accessed it today, so I'm going to put November 11th, 2020. And from, that's where we're going to put the wiki source that we're using. So this is Wikipedia. And then the very last thing we have here is the URL. Now, anytime that our reference goes onto a second line, we have to indent it. Oh, that could have gone better. Let's try that again. Okay, so far we have done references for two sources. One of them we did on BibMe, and that's the easiest one, generally. The second one was a little bit trickier because it was a wiki. So we couldn't do it automatically on BibMe, and instead we went to OWL Purdue, we found an example, and then we followed that example exactly using the information that we were getting from our other source, which was Wikipedia in that case. So the final one we're going to do is actually an article that I found on the George Brown Library website. And in case you missed the lesson, we covered that at the end of the Week 10 slides last week. How to access the library database, how to use it for your research, and find very reliable, good articles in here. So there's a lot of good reasons to use the library database, even though it can be a little tricky. You get great sources, but also an extra perk is that it will do our APA reference for us. So if we take a look on the right-hand side here, and we go to Cite, and now I already had the article loaded, so I went to Cite from the article, and you can see that there's citation format here listed, and we can use this middle scrolling bar to go down until we find APA. Now this is an already made up APA reference in perfect formatting from the article that I was just reading on this same website. So the third way that we can make our APA reference is that if you're doing your research on the library database, you can easily access that APA reference. You don't have to do any work, and you can just put that right in your reference page. Okay, so here we are. We've got our three references. Few last things we have to do for our reference page. We want to make sure that it's in alphabetical order from the first letter of the reference. And it doesn't matter if the first letter is coming from an author's name or, as with Nogent Le Montbard, if it's from the title of the article. Whatever the first letter is, we put it in alphabetical order. We want to make sure that the second line and the third line as well, if there is a third line, is indented. So let's see if I can, there we go. Okay, so it's indented, it's in alphabetical order. We want to make sure that we title the reference page. Now this can be very simple. We can just go to the center at the top of the page and we write references. We don't have to say works cited, we don't have to say list of sources references, just references in the middle at the top. Now the final thing, small thing, is that we do want to put this in 0.5 or double spaced, and we'll go to spacing, line spacing, 1.5, and there we go. We have a finished reference page for these three references. So I hope that's helpful, guys. And of course, if you have any questions about this stuff, you can always feel free to email me.